All right, so you're taking this drive from Portland to Missoula. There's a lot of interesting geology that you are going to be driving along. So, putting on my GeoJane hat and getting down. So, the first drive, you're going to go up to 90, I think. So, if you're going up and you look to the west, you're going to see some kind of low hills. Those are called the Willow Hills. And what's interesting about that little region, the Willow Hills are actually oceanic crust, but they've been uplifted about 2 miles above most oceanic crust. And it's because of continental collision right there. And eventually the stuff that's underneath that will break through the oceanic crust up there and form another extension of the Olympic Mountains, which is what the Olympic Mountains are. You're going to get on 90 and you're going to start driving eastward, and you're going to cross what is basically a couple of microcontinents. And a microcontinent, you can envision New Zealand being a microcontinent, and so some microcontinents actually got attached to our North American continent through plate tectonics and subduction. And so there's a couple of microcontinents that got accreted onto Washington, and you're going to drive right over it. So you're going to see the Stewart Range, which is a bunch of granitic rocks, which are from the mountain. There's some coal mines because on the east and west coast of this microcontinent, there was some moist, swampy areas, kind of like what, South Louisiana and some Florida areas were. And over time, they became coal. And there's actually some old coal mines there. So you also have the channeled scablands that are on the eastern side of Washington state. It's all this kind of, there's not a lot of vegetation. It looks like just a bunch of exposed basalt, and all of the topsoil from that area got completely eroded away during these glacial floods that happened at the end of the last ice age. The very same floods that carved the Columbia River Gorge that we all know and love. And so the channeled scablands are on the eastern side. You'll see them in the Spokane area. It's all a bunch of flood basalt. You're going to see some really gently rolling hills, and those are called the Palouse Hills. They're big, large-scale, beautiful, gently rolling landforms, and those are from known as loess deposits, Loess, and that's windblown dust that was picked up from like the continental glaciers from the ice ages. The winds would pick up and it carry the superfine dust for miles and miles, thousands, hundreds of miles, and drop it. And so it's like this blanket of dust, and they eventually erode to these just beautiful, shapely hills. You're going to keep on going, and right as you hit Spokane, what's really interesting is that you're getting to the former edge of the North American continent. That was the edge of it, and then things got smushed onto it to have the West Coast as we know it today, but it wasn't like that before. So you get to the continent edge, and then you get into Idaho. Some nice mountainous terrain there. It's all part of the Basin and Range, which is the Rocky Mountain type of mountains, unlike the Cascades, which are volcanic. Some very old rocks around there. And then you get into Montana. You'll see really interesting, like, old features from the glacial floods that carved the Columbia River Gorge. They started in Missoula, Montana. That's where the floodwaters broke, and it released all that water back when the Ice Age ended. So that's Portland to Missoula. There's a lot of good information. I'll try not to dork out too much, but that's a quick little summary.